grand darlings. It's Secret Tree time again for today, Sunday, October the 2nd, 2022. Before creation, the Lord loved you. The Lord wrote His Word to you through 40 authors from 8 countries over the course of 1,500 years in 3 languages, and yet with all that, He gave one unique, consistent message. He is the only God, and He is love. So much love that He came to earth Himself and died for your sins, so you don't have to. You can accept Him, follow Him, and live with Him forever. This week we return to Nineveh. Do you remember that name? It's where the Lord sent Jonah. This time God sent Nahum. And it's a bit of a hard book, but we're going to get through it together. One of the hard things about following the Lord is to learn that He is good. And that means in His goodness, He is also right. When people will not follow Him and are determined to ignore Him, He responds in His righteous anger. Righteous anger is very hard for people to understand because there has only been one person in all history who showed righteous anger. Do you know who that is? Yes, Jesus. Jesus showed His righteous anger when He cleared the temple of people who had turned His house of prayer into a shopping mall. When the Lord sent Jonah to Assyria and to its capital city of Nineveh to warn them that God was going to destroy them for the evil they were doing, the Ninevites did the right thing. First, they accepted the Lord's conviction of their sin. They felt sorry for their sin and honestly afraid of God's righteous anger. God was right. They were sinful, and many did evil things. Next, they recognized the wrongs they were doing. Then they confessed their wrongs to the Lord, which means they changed their mind about denying their wrongs against the Lord and His people. Instead, they agreed with God about what they had done. Then they repented, which means they turned their thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors around. And any time they thought about returning to those sins, They redirected themselves to stay turned toward the Lord and always from those evil thoughts. Then they received God's free gift of grace and being saved from his righteous anger. Then the Lord forgave their sins and did not destroy them. When they are forgiven, and when we are forgiven, it is as if the sin never happened. But 190 years later, the people of Nineveh forgot the Lord's grace, and they no longer directed their thoughts and attitudes, nor followed the Lord. They were doing terribly evil things, and once again God's righteous anger burned against them. So the Lord sent Nahum back to Assyria and back to the city, the capital city of Nineveh. But this time they denied the Lord's conviction of their sin. They refused to recognize what they were doing as wrong. They said they would never agree with the warnings Nahum gave them from the Lord. They refused to turn away from their sin. Instead, they wanted to follow the false goddess everyone else in the region worshipped. And then the Lord did another important thing through his prophet Nahum. He taught God's people about how he would protect them while he destroyed Nineveh. And that's how Jesus wants you to know him. In the book of Nahum, Jesus wants you to know him as
Yada.
the Lord who keeps you safe.
Yada.